Hey there, I am Barb Higgins, and this is 1,000 Tiny Steps. In this podcast, I share my stories of love, loss, triumph, and tragedy as I continue to retrace my steps and ponder what led to the death of my daughter Molly. By doing so, I hope to not only help myself, but to bring purpose and possibility to those who listen. If you are ready to laugh, cry, shake your head in disbelief, then tie, buckle, lace up, or slip on your shoes, and join me as we begin our 1,000 Tiny Steps. Hey everybody, welcome to 1,000 Tiny Steps. My almost 200th episode is going to be a great one. It's a rainy Sunday in the middle of the worst week of my life. I call it Death Week because it's the week that Molly died. And I realized this morning that I was a couple of weeks behind my podcast recording schedule. And so I put a message out on Facebook and thought, let the universe send me the perfect story to tell next. And the universe did just that. So I have some longtime friends, longtime Concord natives, Karen and Tim Andrews, who share with my family a unique experience. In some ways, it's exactly the same. In other ways, completely different. Tim is a kidney transplant recipient. And while Kenny's story of how he got his kidney is unique and wonderful and emotional and amazing, it pales in comparison to Tim's story. So I'm going to let Tim talk about what his kidney disease was like, what led him to need to be on dialysis and need a transplant, and then share with us his amazing, probably sometimes terrifying experience with his kidney transplant, which was not from a human donor. So that's the only little hint I'll give you. So Tim and Karen, thank you so much for being willing to do this.
About 3 years ago, I was taking care of dementia patients, gentlemen that had dementia. And I started getting so tired, I couldn't get through the day. I'm like, this is foolish. What's going on? So I saw my doctor, and next thing I know, I'm with a nephrologist. And they're saying, you have stage 3 kidney failure. And I'm like, oh, what's that mean? So I was reading about it and said, okay, well, you can last a long time in stage 3, eat right, be healthy. Approximately a month and a half later, I was on dialysis, stage 5. Apparently, some people don't last that long on 3.
Yeah, I guess not.
And that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went right to it. Didn't waste any time.
Did they know what caused your kidneys to fail so badly?
High blood pressure.
Yeah.
More than anything else. I'm a diabetic too.
Yep. Well, and I learned when Molly was on life support, on TV, when you see someone on life support, they're just plugged into a breathing machine. But in reality, there are like 14 bags of fluid, and that's the kidneys. I'm like, what is all that? That's how we replicate Molly's kidneys. And the kidneys are like the chemistry center of the body, something I never knew until Molly was on life support. And then, of course, when Kenny was on dialysis at that time, he was on dialysis for probably about 10 years. And it was really killing him after a while. The dialysis starts off super helpful, and then it beats the shit out of you after a while, which I'm sure you can relate.
And that's what I was warned from the surgeon. Just, you'll have a honeymoon period.
Yeah.
And then it's going to just suck.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah. How long were you on dialysis?
Only 2 years.
Okay.
But because of my blood type and etc., there wasn't much hope of getting a kidney in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started, looking around. Not believing everything I see, but just look around. What's going on?
Right.
What are the doctors doing? And Mass General did a pig kidney transplant on a gentleman who was dying anyways and fairly quickly died, not because of the kidney, but because he had
everything else.
Yeah, everything else. So I said, you know what? I was already on the list for Mass General. I already had an advocate. So I called my advocate and said, I want 100% to be into this. I want to go there. I want to do what I got to do to be there. And I want to be part of this. Next thing I know, I'm at Mass General knocking on the door. Hey, this is me. And we're going to do this.
Wow.
And Dr. Rhea says, well, you got to do this and this and this. You got to lose some weight. You got to do this, do that. I was in a wheelchair. When I went and saw Dr. Rhea, I was in a wheelchair. I came back a month later and ran down the hallway. I'm ready.
Good for
I
you.
did everything I had to do to get out of that chair
Yeah.
and go see him and say, me.
The preparation was really something, though. He had to have several shots.
Yep.
He had to go to physical therapy. He had to go to the dentist and have any kind of dental work that he needed. It took a while to get him to be, he does have the kidney issue, but get him as healthy as he could be besides the kidney issue.
Correct. Right. Which is in some ways very standard transplant, preparation.
Yes.
But you're getting a kidney that isn't living in a person at the moment, So that's a whole different host of you better be healthy.
Yeah.
And vaccinations and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So you're the one, you came upon the information and you reached out and said, I want to try this.
I was my own advocate.
God bless you. I never knew that. I thought you must have been, maybe they were like reaching out and, trying to push this program and wow.
No.
Hot dang.
And I did. I mean, I did everything he wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And I read a ton. I knew what I was getting into. I've seen some posts on Facebook that people said, oh, conned into it. No, I wasn't conned into it. They told me I could die on the table.
Right.
They told me we're going to run into things we don't know.
Right.
And
Bumps
we did.
in the road.
Little bumps in the road.
Yeah.
I gained 40 pounds in one night.
That was Kenny. That happened to Kenny too. He blew up like a balloon.
Yeah, I was
They
the
had to cut
Stay
the-
Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes.
When I woke up, I was like, what?
Holy crap. It was awful. We had to cut the bracelets off him. It took him a long time to unpuff.
Yeah, well, it didn't take me a long time to unpump because pig kidneys, or at least woman here, likes to pee.
Okay.
Those red jugs that you hold for
Yeah.
24 hours, I got to 4.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. They said it was a world's record. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So from the
Yeah.
moment you reached out and said, I want to be in this program to transplant day, how long was that?
I reached out in August, and the transplant was January 25th of this year.
Wow.
So it was a fairly long time to keep a secret, which I'm not good at. Right off, I was talking to people.
Yeah.
I talked to everybody in my clinic because it's hope.
Yes. When we would travel with Kenny, whenever we went on vacation, he had a dialysis place to go to, but it was incredibly stressful. Your whole entire life is dependent upon that 3-hour, 4-hour chunk of time 3 times a week. Nothing can happen if that isn't taken care of first.
Right. Consumes your life.
Yes. Yes.
Consumes your life.
Yeah.
And it's depressing. It's tough. It was just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
And I was seeing people around me that I would get to know because I was telling them about this particular thing I was doing with the xenotransplant, and they were quitting. And I couldn't believe it. You don't quit dialysis.
No.
But they were doing it.
Wow.
You wanted to at one point, and I talked to the doctor about that, and he said, if he quits dialysis, I'll give him 3 months.
Right.
And it will not be a pleasant 3 months.
No.
Sorry,
not at all.
what's denied?
It's like any terminal illness. You get to a point where what's worse, the illness or the treatment for the illness?
Exactly.
And I have a friend right now who's battling cancer, and he's so sick from the medicine and it's not really helping the cancer. He's like, what am I doing? I feel like crap all the time. Kenny would go to dialysis, come home, puke, sleep, puke.
Exactly. And the next day he would feel horrible.
Yes.
I mean,
we had one good day a week, Monday, because Saturday to Tuesday was like 2 days. So Monday it was like, yay, I have a day where I don't have to go back quite yet. So it's called a xenotransplant.
Xenotransplant. That's the program, and it's all non-human donors. They're doing hearts and livers and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Kidneys was something relatively new.
Which is interesting because that's a relatively easy transplant, believe it or not. In terms of
it was simple.
Yeah.
Less than 2 hours, and I got up and I was fine. I'm like, why didn't we do this 2 years ago?
They said it was going to take about 4 hours, and a little over 2 hours, they came and said, okay, we're done.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So you stay in the hospital about a week?
I stayed in the hospital for a week. Probably should have stayed a little longer, because then I started the weight thing.
Yeah.
Up and down,
Yeah.
getting bigger and
Well,
bigger.
we stayed in Boston.
Yeah, we stayed in Boston.
We
Yeah.
stayed at a kind of a B&B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to go back to the hospital every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
blood work and urinalysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was for a week, and then they let you come home, which is probably too early.
It's just so nice to get back home though. Like
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
another balance. Like, do I stay sleeping in someone else's bed with none of my stuff, or do I go home and just sit in my favorite chair and smell the smells of my house? And all these things that when your life is fine, you don't even think about. So that was January 25th. Now it's May, about 3.5 months. I know the dialysis period was terrible. I know the time from August to January was you kicking your ass to get everything done that you needed to get done so you could lie on that operating room table. What have the last 3 months been like?
No dialysis, a bit of hospital for the
Yep.
bumps.
Yep. Yep.
The last day was 3.5 weeks. I came in for 3 days.
So what are some of the complications you've had? Or have they been related to like rejection issues or just general recovery and accepting a pig kidney into a human environment?
Actually, it's a little of both. Then I learned all pigs for donation of kidneys are O's. So
Blood type O.
Wow.
They work
They must be super healthy pigs.
They grow them in the Midwest.
Yep.
And we had an interview with Sanjay Gupta on CNN.
Yeah.
And he said, I went to this facility and he was soaking wet. He said, before we go to visit these pigs, everybody has to shower every time they go near these pigs.
Yeah.
It's a completely sterile environment.
Yeah.
And what they do is transfer the pig from the Midwest alive, that pig to about an hour away from Boston.
Right.
And then the surgeons actually go to this facility. It was really kind of funny because they brought it back to Mass General and the nurse came in and said, okay, gotta go. Like, wait, we haven't said goodbye yet. Sorry, gotta go. The kidney is here. He's here. Gotta go.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
all done in secrecy.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't talk about.
So I'm not surprised that you had to keep it secret. That was probably more to make your experience easier because you don't
Yes.
have to deal with all the hateful rhetoric.
Had a bodyguard for a while.
Yeah, I bet.
You do have a secret memo.
That would be weird. And maybe 50 years from now, these will be so normal and run of the mill that your story, people will look back on it and go, wow, imagine having to go through all that.
It just
Next
went
thing
from
you know,
there.
here we are with a pig kidney
Wow.
somehow.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
You say that while I try to convince her.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard this thing. They take a pig kidney and put it in, and she's like,
Oh.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have now your anti-rejection meds. When they were giving Kenny all his instructions, I pulled out a notebook to take notes. And the nurse said, excuse me, are you the kidney recipient? And I said, no. And she said, go away and let him take the notes. He has to remember to take this medicine, not you. It was mind-boggling, but it drove it home to Kenny that this really was his piece of the recovery process was the medication and taking care of yourself. So do you have any ill effects from the medicine you have to take, or is that all fine?
I actually probably don't want to tell people this, but I decreased my dose of steroids. I says, this pig's going to pee me to death.
Yeah.
I said, the steroids are killing her,
Yeah.
and they're killing me.
And are you feeling better with less
I
steroids?
physically took it off
Yeah.
and then said a couple of days later, hey, look at those blood
Numbers were good,
the
right?
numbers are good.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I'm doing.
Yeah. So how's your physical, like, do you feel like strong? Like, can you go for walks? Can you exercise? Like, what's your day-to-day life like now?
Well, I'm still recovering from the infection I had, but it's minor. I'm going to start walking. We've walked some. A couple of times during the process, I was walking really good, and
Yeah.
then things came up.
Yeah.
As I expected when I signed up for it,
Yeah.
And it's all stuff that it's strange. They keep saying it's not pig related, but I'm like, why do I have something you don't know?
Right.
They said to me, you try to figure out and find something that's unknown.
Yeah.
Well, that, that's it. That was the infection, and they were trying to kill the infection, so they just slammed him with antibiotics.
Right.
And the pig kidney was so sensitive, the pig kidney couldn't take that. So the
Right.
pig kidney started to shut down. In
Yeah.
fact, one of the doctors came in and said the pig kidney is failing. So they backed off on the infection medication, and it's a balance between the infection medication
Yes.
and the anti-rejection medication.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I've had a couple odd issues. They don't think are related to the pig, but there you go. How they are.
Right.
Nobody knows.
well, yeah, I mean, he was in the hospital and he had sepsis, and then he had the infection in his leg.
Yeah.
And the good part is, just because he had a big pig transplant, he doesn't go off the kidney list. So he's still on the kidney list to get a human kidney.
Oh, that's
Because
wonderful.
Well, they said at the beginning that because he's a type O, his time to get a kidney will be from 7 to 10 years.
That's what they said to Kenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the pig kidney is really just a bridge
Yeah.
to get him from here to where a pig kidney is.
Wow. So you have this temporary sort of bridge. You have the ability to circle the airport in a way that's much more enjoyable and manageable than dialysis.
Right. Number one, keep the pig kidney alive as long as we can,
Yes.
because we're learning. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
did this whole process for all the other people I was seeing suffering on dialysis.
Yep.
I said,
Yeah.
step me up to this because I want to help them. I want to bring hope to them.
Yeah.
As you well know, when you're on dialysis, there's no hope.
No. It's an awful, awful process. Kenny just dreaded it so much. Hated
And
it.
having no solution.
Right.
The only solution is a bad solution.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Stopping. Yeah. There is no.
Yeah, we're keeping you alive.
Yeah.
But that's
Just
it.
barely. Just
This
barely.
is mind. So Karen, what's it like as the wife of this crazy husband of yours that decides, a pig kidney is a good idea? How has this process been for you?
Well, it's been a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much he can do.
Right.
All of the housework, all of the yard work, laundry, all that stuff, he can't do. It's been really exhausting, and just watching him go through this, especially with dialysis. I mean, he'd have one day that he'd have the dialysis, and then the next day he'd be either sick, he'd be vomiting.
Oh yeah.
It's just exhausting because he goes through all that, and then all he wants to do is sleep.
Well, an interesting piece of our lifestyle that has been hard to reconcile, even with years and years behind us, is we had the years before Molly's death when Kenny was getting sicker and sicker, and our whole life as a family really did rotate around his illness. And then his life simply, he worked less and less. Then he sold his business. Then he didn't work at all. Then we applied for and got on disability. And, and so little by little, it was me and 3 people that I had to care for. And he did everything that he could. It wasn't like he didn't want to be a part of things, but you can only do what you can do. And then you have to go sleep for 12 hours. So then Molly died. Everything stopped for us. We just became a comatose group of 3 living in this house. So we'd get up whenever, we'd do whatever, like all the structure and predictability left. Now we've recovered a bit from Molly. We have this new baby who's now 4. We have some structure and stability. We've found some happiness, but it is very, very hard to let go of the mindset and the habits of what life is like when you have a chronic illness and everything goes around it. We still often function like a family with somebody who's really sick. And you still have another transplant ahead of you, most likely. You guys are really circling the airport. Have you figured out like a new routine that works, or like a social life that you can make happen, or?
What social life? Yeah, we talk about a social life, but people don't know how to handle this.
No, they don't.
So they don't know, should I go over there? Should I try to help?
People don't like anything that might be death, so they go away.
Yeah.
And he can't be near anybody who has any kind of cold.
Right. People, they want to be helpful, but I find that I take care of everyone else's feelings more than I take care of my own sometimes. And you guys must be in the same boat. You want to make sure everyone's
Yeah,
okay. And
it's tough because I have a really big family and he's got, no, not so big a family, but we have a get together and we go out to dinner. And before we go out to dinner, he gets really sick. So I have to call one of my brothers or one of my sisters and say, I'm sorry, we just can't go.
That was on dialysis.
Oh, at the beginning, they were just so
I'm just
angry.
thinking.
I'm like, there's nothing we can do about that.
right.
I'm not going to take the chance of him going and catching anything.
Well, hopefully, as life marches along, those things will sort of even out and settle out, and the bumps in the road will get smaller. And I saw this whole thing in the news, or maybe I saw it on social media. I'm like, oh my God, like, because the whole transplant process for us was such an emotional thing because of the Molly connection. And it wasn't some anonymous random donor. It didn't come off a list. It wasn't a big car crash in some city and all these people got these, but it was someone we knew. And it's just an emotional roller coaster. And our emotional roller coaster was this. Yours had loops on it and twists and turns. I can imagine it's been exhausting in some ways.
I don't think we should give the impression that it's been easy.
No, you haven't.
Because, oh gosh, it just, and it goes on and on. It's not something, certainly I hope it's going to get easier, but it's still driving to Boston 3 times a week, being very, very tired a lot of times.
Yeah. Hopefully your story will open more people's minds to the possibility, because quite honestly, the more people who are willing to do it makes it better for countless people 5-10 years down the road.
Oh, exactly. I mean, Pig had 23 edits. His had 97. The doctor, when we talked to the doctor about it, the head surgeon, he said, don't worry about it. We have a better pig. Well, we thought he was kidding. And then we found out, oh, we've got this many more edits.
Right.
Oh, of course it's going to be a better pig. This pig is going according to what his body wants.
So an edit would be an alteration in the genetic structure of the kidney?
Yeah, they use a thing called a CRISPR and they remove it. And then they have a way to put others in.
Yeah. Here's where the human brain is amazing. Somebody thought of all this. Like someone thought, hey, I have an idea. And then they figured out. Exactly.
When we met with Sanjay Gupta, he said, have you seen the pig that donated? We hadn't seen the pig. I mean, we didn't know anything about the pig. He showed us a video of this pig. I just started crying.
I bet.
It was like, and I didn't expect to be that emotional. I'm like, oh my goodness. The pig was absolutely pristine. And I don't think of pigs as being a clean animal. But this thing was perfect.
It's easy to keep all this theoretical. You can make pig kidney into some academic idea. No, it's a pig in a pen with little ears and a squiggly tail. It's a pig.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's like when we met with Sanjay Gupta, he brought Tim up to the dialysis center where he went to for a couple of years.
Yeah.
They took Timothy into the room that he actually had dialysis in. They didn't let me go in. 5 minutes later, they're coming out, and I'm like, what is going on? The CNN people all flew up from Atlanta, and Sanjay Gupta, I don't know where he was, but he flew in from somewhere. And he said, I'll tell you in the car. And he had asked, when they do kidney dialysis, they make all these friends. They're the TTS people, the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah, that was Kenny's group.
He said, well, where is, so-and-so, and where is so-and-so? And all of them were gone.
Yeah, they told me it's been a bad month.
Yeah, that was Kenny lost. He'd come home devastated. All of a sudden the chair's empty. It's your people.
Yeah.
And you all have a certain chair that you like to sit in. And oh, you guys, and I just needed, what a great conversation. I needed this today. This is fantastic. Wow.
Thank you.
It's been a journey.
What I've gotten from this is that, and it's sort of the whole theme of my podcast, you can have horrible things happen to you. You can go through really bad things. And then you can either just sit in it and be miserable, or you can say, you know what? I'm going to turn this into something better than myself. And that's what you've done. You could still be on dialysis. You could still feel like shit. You could still be waiting and waiting. And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. A, I'm going to do this because I don't want to feel this way anymore. And B, it can help someone else.
I didn't realize how many people are on dialysis.
Oh, yeah.
We asked one of the nurses because Timothy said, oh, there's probably 100,000 people that are on dialysis in the United States. And she said, there's 550,000 people that are on dialysis.
Right.
That's just in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah, that's intense. That's intense. Is there any aspect of this whole experience or just anything either of you want to share that we haven't talked about yet? Or do you have a message that, I mean, these all sound like such cheesy questions, but.
The message I'm sending to the people I'm talking to, which are dialysis people, mostly, some of them are multi-transplant people.
Yeah.
Stay strong. Fight for yourself. Be an advocate for yourself. And just hang in there. Don't quit. This is coming. There's a lot of people behind me.
I bet.
That are coming.
I want to thank my listeners for enjoying this conversation with me. Mostly, I want to thank Karen and Timothy because it's one thing to go through a huge event like this, an event that opens people to judgment and criticism. It's another thing to share it with the world, and that's how we make the world better. It's why I blab my life story all the time. So as always, be good to yourself. Take care of yourself like Tim did. Once you've done that, do something good for someone else. Share your struggles, share your stories, buy someone a cup of coffee, whatever it is. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Hey, thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. Feel free to leave a review and share my stories with your friends. Please reach out with your own stories, as I love connecting with my listeners. If you would like to get to know Molly, head over to mollybfoundation.org to see what she is all about. If you want to see what I'm up to next, you can find me on Instagram at barb_444, on Facebook as Barb Higgins, and at my website, 1000tinysteps.com. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter, a weekly way to find out what's up in the life of Barb Higgins.